my channel. I need you, before we get started, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and subscribe to my page. And I just want to say this. Listen, last week we had a wonderful conversation, and this week we're going to continue on. I need you to sit back, relax, enjoy. It's going to be good. God bless. And one of the things that was so troubling during this time is we had a congregation that was watching you transform into someone that they didn't even know.
Quite literally,
and literally, they saw you at the height of who you were in Christ, and now they would see you as a man that was barely there because you couldn't get to church. And sometimes when you did get to church, you had to be taken home. And even before service started, they saw a man now who was very emotional and was crying a lot at church, and just really speaking gloom. And at the same time, I'm still begging you, please get some help. And you're not getting help, and people are asking, and I'm being a faithful and loyal wife, and I can't tell them what's going on. I'm having to grin and bear it. But all the time, things are getting worse and worse and worse at home. Getting worse and worse and worse for you. You're now at this place where you're doing whatever it takes to get your vice. And I'm having to hide your wallet, hide your money, take your keys, anything to keep you safe. Only you're such a brilliant man, even in that state, you creatively came up with ways to get what you needed.
Because you were also enlightened by the enemy.
Yeah.
He has a lot vested in your destruction.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I believe, we see in this day and time so many celebrity suicides. The people that most Americans look up to, and gosh, but you had this and you had that. Now what has happened is it has creeped into the Christian world, even with what we call Christian celebrity, whatever that is. I don't give them any tasks because they've been successful, but that's just, what it is. And then when these people fall, all of a sudden, every negative, mean joke, social media, press, just like what happened with me, gets exploited. And now we're in our story, we're not quite at this point, but I knew that was around the corner. Part of me knew there was no other way out than to get help or to die, you know, and God had refused to help me die. Just like Elijah.
And the wildest part is I had prepared for it. I was mentally preparing myself for your departure, and naturally took out insurance policies, additional for me and Angel.
How much was the
Because I couldn't get you to stop. I couldn't get you to get help. You wouldn't see a therapist. You wouldn't go in for treatment. And
in my mind, had I done that, in my mind, in that sick guy's mind who used to live inside of me, it's like, if I do this, then everything is over. How will I provide, for my family? What will I do in life? I'm done. I didn't have a plan B for us after ministry. I trusted God that day that we set off to do what I felt like we were called to do, and there was no plan B. And now I'm stuck with no plan B, and now you're terrified. So now fear has joined isolation and shame. And it was at that point that all your mind tells you to do is more of the vice that's destroying you. Just forget. Yes, you'll pass out in a minute. You'll go to sleep. You'll giggle at something stupid for about an hour, then you go to sleep. But it does not fix it.
It doesn't fix it.
And what I want us to get out of this conversation today, to every person, whether you're in clergy or not, but especially if you're in clergy, if you're a minority in our community, that people would laugh at you if you had a mental issue, or this is old Joe, he crazy, and all those things. I remember sitting with your brother as he went through DTs and hallucinations and things, and we were young then. I didn't understand any of that stuff. I'd never been around it. My parents didn't, consume any alcohol. They didn't, take any medications. I didn't know what to do with it. I just knew it was scary, and I thought that's where I'm on my way to, or whatever. But I remember even then, it wasn't funny seeing your brother in that particular state. It was kind of scary. But
and it wasn't funny seeing you in that state.
Right.
And I don't know if you ever got to the hallucinations. I think sometimes you used to kind of like talk out of your head. It was not clear. But I do remember one particular time where, and to me, I didn't think it could get any worse than that day when you had taken a cab away from home because I had taken the keys, and you ended up calling me and telling me to come get you.
Yeah.
And when I got to the McDonald's down the street, you were sitting there drunk, and I mean, drunk beyond anything. And
remember nothing of it.
And I struggled to try to get you in the car. Had to have some guy help me put you in the car to bring you home, and you fall, and I'm having to pick you up and take you upstairs. And at one point, you almost knocked us all both down the stairs. Yeah. And just once I finally got you upstairs and got you in bed and made sure you was okay, just remember just coming downstairs, just crying, saying, "God, I just don't understand. This is a man of God. He loves you. Why does he not have any hope?"
Yeah.
But for me, I thought that was rock bottom, but it would get even worse than that.
Yeah. And another aspect of that is beginning to understand and experience what I didn't know, something called blackouts, where there's absolutely, you can function in a blackout. I didn't know that. I thought it was like passing out. And as I studied, as I went through therapy, and it was explained
it's like
to me,
a blackout of a memory.
Yeah, you can't form new memories. You can't dictate. You can speak, you can move, people, but you're basically in a stupor. That's why it's extremely dangerous, and you'll never have any recollection of that. So what happens is, it takes a while before the seriousness of what you're in to catch up, because you don't remember how much trouble you were in, so you don't evaluate it properly. But you're in some serious trouble, in some serious situations. And everything started condensing, it began to get worse and worse. How did I wreck my car?
Exactly. I'm still questioning that. I don't know what happened.
And I can't explain it, And for you to have family members, you think, oh, they just lying or whatever. No. Your loved one is so gone into depression, especially when it's bled into any kind of substance abuse, no matter what it is. I don't care if it's cough syrup. Some people go off to crazy things that they can get over the counter. That's how serious it is, and why it has to be, it has to be addressed.
Yeah, because I remember talking about the blackout things. I remember a couple of times coming home, the stove, we got a gas stove in the house, and the stove's blaring, food on it, burning up, and you're out. You're just out of it.
It is truly the grace of God.
Yeah.
When I think back, and I can't really think back, really, because you can't remember. So just to start to remember, I don't know why I would ask God if he's through with me, because obviously if he was, I'd be gone or whatever. But this is how serious it is. And it adds even more shame on top of it.
Yeah.
And you get to the place where, okay, I'm here now. I'm an addict, I'm depressed or whatever, may as well just ride it out or whatever.
And that's the attitude that you had.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
But it would get even worse. And let's talk about the day that my friend had to literally put me in the car to take me away because she knew that I was about to crash and burn. Just covering, keeping secrets, trying to pastor, trying to take care of you, trying to take care of my daughter, who at the time, and I really believe that, at the time, Angel and Brianna just kind of went through their season of rebellion, not knowing what was wrong with you, because I wasn't telling them. They weren't at home. They weren't living home. And so I wasn't telling them the full. I was basically just telling them, he's still going through a little issues because his mom, and he's just still having a hard time. But I wasn't telling them the full of everything that was going through. And so in the midst of everything that was going on with you, they too were in rebellion, where they decided to move their little boyfriends in and didn't want me to have no part of their life, and wanting to do things on their own, and which was hard with them not talking to me. And I'm carrying all this. So at this time, my friend is literally got to take me away to make me get some rest for me. And I remember that day begging you, pleading with you before I left to give me your keys. And you were just being so stubborn and so mean. And would not give them to me. And I knew, I did not want to leave, because I knew that I just knew something was going to happen. So you don't even remember much about that day, but.
No, but it was, it was the absolute worst downfall. Because I would end up, prior to this, it was times that you got to take me to the emergency room.
Yeah. Ambulance calling.
Ambulance had to be called. I mean, when I think about it now, just so many scenarios.
The treatment facility, the 7-day, because of the suicide thing.
Yeah, and
even though you didn't get behavioral health.
And behavioral health.
Yeah.
And
then the Wilmington Treatment Center.
The first treatment center that I went to, and you're in there, and then there's still a great degree of shame, because you're like, oh my God, I'm here. How did I get in this place?
Yeah. Not
that I'm better than these people, but these people, by and large, don't have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
They're not. So I understand their struggle, but I'm supposed to know, and I'm supposed to understand, how am I here? Everybody's level here. Wasn't no bishop in treatment center. But still, that's going on, and I'm going back to my dorm or my room at night, and I'm crying every night, and hoping I don't wake up, and all of this stuff, and so conflicted, and the enemy really gets to mess with your mind. And they're not closed to spiritual issues, but that's not their forte. That's not what they're there for. So they're just dealing with the physical, emotional, and mental part of what you're going through. They're there trying to save your life. I didn't know that you could die from trying to stop on your own, which I had tried many times. And other than the shakes and all the apparent things, that drives you back to whatever you're doing, so that nobody can see the withdrawal symptoms. And it is quite a dangerous thing to wean yourself off of, if anybody's on this, from alcohol without medical help. Yeah. Because you can die. Yeah. You can have seizures, and you can die. And I think that's why your brother would have seizures. We didn't know anything.
Yeah,
epilepsy also. But this is what sparks that when you have a dependency. That I later learned all this stuff.
He took a blow to the head and started.
Yeah, but I'm saying when you have epilepsy, and then you abuse a substance, it conflates what you're dealing with already. And that's where we were. And you're going out of town, like you said, all I remember was getting in my car and just leaving, never knowing where I went when I came home, who I talked to. God knows, dangerous things. Sometimes I just be back home. Sometimes somebody would have to call someone. I mean, you can speak more to that more clearly than I can. Yeah. But it was absolutely a terrible place to be in. Yeah. And it was a scary place to be in.
It was very scary.
Because I really didn't know whether I was going to come back from it. I felt like God wouldn't help me. I felt like He wouldn't heal me. And He would, but He was not going to do it on my terms, or my terms of pride, or He was not going to do it just in private with no one knowing, so that I could just bask in the pride of, hey, look at, because who would have known? Who knows what happens when you overcome something, and nobody knows,
Mhm.
then there's a danger of a sense of pride. You know,
Oh yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
I got free. Why can't you get free?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's not what he was going to allow. And I was hearing a lot of that. You know, um, and it would cause me to be in inappropriate situations, and I wouldn't even remember phone calls with people. It got so bad. Rather than get help or whatever, many times I would get a pad because I knew I was going to forget. I was actually managing um, depression and addiction.
I know. Several times we had conversations where we talked, and then the next day you wouldn't even know
Yeah.
that we had talked
Mm-hmm.
about that, and you would ask me, why didn't I tell you such and such, or
Mm-hmm.
why didn't you tell me so and so was dead? And I would say, well, I did.
Yeah.
But it would be many times that we would have those conversations, and
Mhm.
that was because of the blackouts, because of the prescribed medicine
Mhm.
that they gave you for the depression.
And that's another thing we could bring in.
Yeah.
I got to a place where I would be triggered by deaths.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I didn't have personal interaction. One of the young ladies in our church that was close to me, her mother died, and you would have thought my mother died
Exactly.
again. And that's how we have to be careful when we talk about depression and how it can be drawn back to things that are not resolved, like the issues I had with my mother.
Exactly. The day in the hospital. I remember the day in the hospital. I literally saw you leave yourself that day. I saw that. And I believe that's why every time there was a death, that it affected you so bad. And I would be like, well, this is a part of life. Yeah, it's a time to be sad, time to grieve.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it affected you in a way that it almost was unreal, because
Mm-hmm.
even the children or the siblings of the person that had passed on was not grieving as hard as you were.
Right.
And in a lot of cases, you didn't even know them.
Right.
And so, but it's just,
So it became the concept of death and what it represented to me, going back to my mother, more so than just the person.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few people that, were close to us, but it was the concept of it and the feelings, it reopened every single time. It's like I was reliving that night in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I would go, because my mother died in the emergency portion of the hospital. So inevitably, I would have to go see other people and members that were there. And I accidentally walked to the exact room one day, about 6 months later, looking for somebody else. And I walked in room 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I just froze
Mm-hmm.
and stood there in the room until a nurse said, "Can I help you?"
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the exact room. And so all these extra layers of things that are on that come with depression and with the illness that you don't even realize, And again, I had to get over the aspect of not accepting that was an illness, and even that the substance abuse was an illness. And that's a real hard one for church people.
Yeah.
Because they say, well, that's just a sin and this, that, and the third, and that it may be. But at the same time, it's something that has to be addressed and treated, and it can't just be come to the altar and you're going to get free. I'm sure there's some that have. There are plenty of testimonies like that.
Of course.
But that's not the norm. That's why we call it a miracle.
I think I really believe that for you, there were some things that God had to, some things that He needed to deal with inside of you, that went beyond even the unresolved issues with your mom, just to bring you to a place, maybe even for the sake of this show today, because someone's out there, and they're hurting, and they're depressed, and they're thinking that it's over for me.
Yeah.
But maybe they needed to see that you, a bishop, a man that has traveled the world, a man that knows God, a man that loves the Lord, a man that oversees a wonderful flock of people, can be touched with mental illness.
Yeah.
And maybe for them, that's going to give them the hope that they need to get through this. So we've gone from the hospital room to feelings of unresolved issues, to depression, to sickness, to behavior, to getting help, to addiction. So now we're at this place where you have decided come hell or high water, I got to get some help.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let anything stop me this time. And so you check yourself into a facility.
Well, the first time I went to a facility in the beginning of
It was February last
February
year.
of 17, 18?
18.
18. And things turned out very good in the short term. I'd never been in anything like that before. Things turned out very good in the short term. In the facility, I got a lot of education. I came to grips with the fact, hey, you're sick, you've got a disease you have to treat, no matter what the Christian culture may want to say about it, or the religious culture, I shouldn't say Christian. What I did not do, which is totally important, when I came out, because my system was clean, I looked good physically, and I felt good. In my mind, that's I did it, that's what you do. But there's follow-up you have to do.
Yeah.
Okay? You're still in recovery.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything negative now. There are some things that I don't like the way they phrase them. They say, well, you're always an addict. You're always have a proclivity or whatever. Well, your physical body does change. You do develop an allergy, okay, to certain substance abuse. No matter how you get there, that your body cannot handle. Even if you used to do it when you were a teenager, it's dangerous to mess with. So you have to have consistent spiritual health, consistent physical health, and consistent counseling and therapy. I didn't follow up coming out.
Yeah, I remember you stopping going to your session.
I didn't start going to any of the sessions they prescribed. I went to, therapist thing or whatever. And then I found out that therapists have therapists.
Exactly.
Which educated me.
I mean, you listen to that many problems a day, you better have a therapist.
Right.
And one of the problems that we had is we didn't have somebody that we could talk to.
That's my point.
Because even our pastors that we had at the time were not the kinds of pastors that did monthly or quarterly maintenance with us.
Yeah.
As spiritual leaders.
Yeah.
And because we're constantly being poured into, we got everybody's problems. We know everybody's secret. I mean, we're praying for everybody. But we're not having that dumping session. And one of the things that I often train my MITs, my ministers in training, is you got to have a dumping session where you go and you release and you dump all this stuff, because people are going to be pouring into you constantly. And if you're not given the prayer and intercession like that, then it's going to be hard to carry that stuff. And so for us, we didn't have that.
Yeah, and that's why I talk about running on empty.
Yeah.
You take in, we eat, and then we don't eliminate.
Exactly.
That's a medical problem. You're going to die.
You're going to die.
You're going to have.
And you're going to stink before you die.
Okay.
If you don't eliminate, what?
You want to preach that, don't you? Hey.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But yeah, so
a few months later, here's what you need to understand. When you come off a substance, let's say somebody, you drank for or took a substance, whatever it was, for 10 years, then you stop for 20 years. If you abuse that again, you don't start from rock bottom. You start from where you left off 10 years ago.
Wow.
So if you left off at 20 pills a day and a fifth of vodka a day, you don't start from one drink. You start from that fifth where you were, because that's what the physiology of your body does. Okay, and that's why some people, when they relapse, have such a hard time getting back, and then we become so impatient with them. Like they were supposed to start from ground zero. You don't start from ground zero. I say that to say that ongoing maintenance of your health.
It's kind of like the spiritual thing where it says once the demon leaves and it comes back and it brings seven more.
It brings seven more strong than itself. In the latter state of that man.
It's worse than
it's worse than other folks. And so we have to understand, and I can't drive home enough, taking care of yourself after the storm.
Self-care.
Everybody say, oh, yes, I got through the storm. Thank you, Jesus. It ain't over. You need to maintain that and still progress.
Exactly.
On all levels that we talked about, your spirit, your soul, and your physical body. Okay, so I dove back in. About July was the worst absolute breaking point. We talk about check ourselves in. At this point, there's nothing left. last time I went out of town because we were trying to maintain anonymity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this time I said, I got to go somewhere close that once I leave the facility, I can still go back for sessions and meetings and treatments, because that's what I didn't do last time, you know? And that made the difference. So, the worst part of it was so much more damage was done to relationships than had to be.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the upside, of what we've come out of. But in that particular place, I would recommend it to anybody. I can't do plugs on this session here, but I would recommend it to anybody. But what they really drove home, and they were very embracing of the spiritual dynamic of it, more so than the last facility. So this facility was treating the whole man, spiritually, solically, went to classes every day. And here's the thing. My roommate was a civil attorney. All the men about my age, 40s and 50s, we tend to bond together, and there were younger people. But all the men my age who was in there, one was a successful entrepreneur, owned dealerships. Another guy owned fitness clubs. Another guy was a tax attorney. Two vice presidents of BB&T. What am I saying? This cuts through every strata of life.
Absolutely.
I don't care who you are or what you do.
Anybody can be attacked with depression. And so it's not something to be ashamed of, though the enemy, the devil, will cause you to be ashamed of it, especially when you do what you do.
See,
as far as being a bishop.
The substance abuse, alcohol abuse, all the other abuse, that is an outworking of the depression.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You got to treat that too, but you got to get down to the foundation of it with us, as believers especially. And here's another thing. When I would go to support meetings after the fact, even in there, many times I'm the only African American.
Wow.
And if I'm not, I'm the only African American man. I notice I'm the only African American in the room, and I look around and I say, man, this is something else. I'll tell you this little anecdote. So in that facility, again, I went in, and because I was in our city, I was so paranoid.
So afraid somebody's going to be in there to see
now,
you.
Now, dummy should have figured out, if they're in here, they got the same problem you got.
I know, but in your mind, you're thinking, they're in here, but they still going to tell on me.
Because the enemy is the author of shame.
Yeah.
You see, he brings shame. And so I'm in there, and I got all the first week, of course, when your body is being cleansed and detoxed, you got all these up and downs. People came in, this is how serious this is, you got to deal with it. People came in wheelchairs that didn't have any physical need for a wheelchair, other than the fact that they were so enamored and taken in with the abuse that they put their bodies under. My roommate, for the first week, he was there a week before I was in a wheelchair. A prosperous civil attorney, but that's what life had done in his world. So about a weekend, they have this huge convention at one of the hotels here in the city, and all the people who have overcome this and are overcoming, that's the way they look at it, okay? 600 people, and that was really invigorating to see how these people hit rock bottom and turn their lives around. And the stories they told, you think we've been through stuff? I've heard stories of these upstanding people now who had resorted to everything from, because of their depression, almost without a fail, everybody cited that the root of their addiction was in their depression.
Absolutely.
Some of them had been reduced to prostitution and pimping young women out and things. I mean, bad. Everything's bad when it's bad.
Yeah.
But it's just different stories.
Exactly.
Okay. And one of the greatest stories was there was a young lady that got to that situation. Well, she was about 45. And that situation was had begun to prostitute herself, had a pimp.
Yeah.
They went into therapy, got clean, got married.
Yeah.
And had kids. Yeah. Now I want to say that there was a meeting we had. People got up and said why they were grateful, and I had to get up. And I got up, and I determined at that point I was going to defeat the spirit of shame.
Absolutely.
And I got up and I said, I said, I have something to tell you. I said, there's a young man that came in, a couple of days ago. He looked at me and he said, I know you from somewhere. And when he said this, my whole heart just sank. I was like, oh God, he knows me. And he said, you ever been to so-and-so church? And then I was really dumb. Then I said, yeah, I've been to your church before. What I didn't tell him was I appreciate his church. I just left it there. So in this assembly, I was telling him I was grateful to be there. And I said, I owe somebody an apology because I didn't tell them everything. I said, the reason you recognize me is because, I'm a bishop. I do this, that, and the third. And I told the whole room, the whole auditorium what I did. Mm-hmm. And he said, I know it. Everybody erupts in laughter.
But that's the trick of the enemy.
That's the trick of the enemy.
To cause you to be so ashamed that you hide. Yep. What did he do with Adam and Eve in the garden?
Absolutely.
First thing that he did is he caused them to have shame. And the second thing they did is they hid. Mm-hmm. And as he knows that as long as you hide, you're not going to be able to get the healing and the help that you need. Yep. And so with that being said, that was the process that started you on your wonderful healing plan.
The healing
process. And every day is a process.
Every person in that facility, all 50 therapists, psychiatrists, doctors, were ex-addicts. Mm-hmm. Every single one, from the kitchen to the facility director, to the counselors, to the director of medical staff. Mm-hmm. And the CEO came to me one day, a tall guy, and he said to me, he said, Angelo, I have counseled priests. I've had priests in here. I've had rabbis in here. I've had Christian pastors in here. I've had bishops in here over the 25 years I've been here. He said, I had one man in here that's written multiple books, and it's over 50 churches. He's a televangelist on TV all over the world in here. He said, I'm going to tell you, like I told him, when you get out of here, you shout what you've been through from the rooftops.
Absolutely.
That's why we're here today.
Absolutely.
He said, don't hide it.
Absolutely.
He said this, don't be ashamed, because he said, if you speak, like I told the other gentleman, if you speak, many will get healed. You didn't go through this for nothing.
God always has a reason.
He always has a reason.
Always has a reason.
All things.
There's so many people out there that are hurting, that are depressed, and they need to know that there is hope. Mm-hmm. I want you to just talk to somebody that's out there. Yeah. Just let them know that there is hope. Mm-hmm. And if God can do it for you,
absolutely,
He can do it for everybody.
Absolutely. And I'll say to you, if this is what you're experiencing, if you are a pastor, a Christian or not, if you're a Muslim or Jew, Jewish or not, I don't care who you are, what walk of life, whether you're LGBT, you're a human being that God loves.
Absolutely.
Okay? You're a human being that the Lord loves immensely, more than you'll ever know. More than I'll ever know. He loves me. He loves me. If you're experiencing depression, please do not hide it. I'm begging you, with everything that's within me, I know what you've been through. I know what it's like. I know the shame. I know the isolation. I know the humiliation. I know the sense of failure, or feeling unloved, like nobody cares about you. I felt all of that. Like if they knew what you were going through, that they'd leave you. You know what? Some people will leave you. But I'm going to tell you this. Everybody that's for you cannot leave you. And everybody that's against you cannot stay. One of the greatest things that can happen to you in your struggle to get well is to depend on God, number one. And two, to let anyone who's not for your healing or for your betterment, let them exit your life. There will always be people that will abandon you. That's just the nature of human nature. So I want to say to you, get help. If you can't talk to your pastor, first of all, you got the wrong pastor. If you can't talk to your spiritual leader, you got the wrong spiritual leader. But you have to talk to someone. And if it starts at the therapeutic level, at the clinical level, start there. But you have to address your spiritual need. You have to address your soul need, your soul need, your mind, your emotions, how you feel. And you must, by all means, address your physical needs. Because you're in a position where your literal body wants whatever you've given it in order to cope. And most of us give it something to cope. This is nothing to play with. And you are not alone. There's a reason that you're hearing about depression from all areas of life in the media. God is causing everyone's attention to go to this, whether they give him the credit, whether they give him praise or not. He cares about humanity so much. He has no desire that any should perish. And you can get help. We pastor the Palm South Church in Greensboro, North Carolina, and we have a mission now that has been expanded to help the hurting and the suffering. And if that's you, we'd love to be a part of your victory of healing.
Wow. Bishop Grady, thank you so much. I just believe that this is going to be one of those things where somebody out there is going to get a major breakthrough because they know that this can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to thank you for coming on my show, my
Thank you for
first
having
show.
me. It's gonna
My
be awesome.
first show, and
Yeah.
it's been so good, and I am so proud of you and your accomplishment, and
Yeah.
and to see you bounce back and making a comeback, and I know that there is nothing that awaits you but greatness. I know that God is
Yeah.
going to do some wonderful and amazing things for you through your life, and it's still some more people that He's going to use you to touch, and thank you
Well, I'm
so
proud
much.
of you because
Thank you for standing
a
strong.
lot of people don't have the support system I have, and I have the greatest family.
Talk
in
about
the
that
world.
support system. We had
Oh my God.
a couple
Yeah.
pastor friends of ours
Yeah.
in our church.
That supported us
They were the only ones that knew,
Yeah.
and they supported us.
every
Kept our
step of the way
secret.
for a long
Yeah.
time. You know,
Yeah.
and they weren't covering up for sin. They were covering us.
Yeah.
They were covering me as a pastor, and covering you as a woman of God. And then, my own girls, my own family,
Yes.
my own extended family. There's a lot of my church that stood with me,
Mm-hmm.
and those are the ones I celebrate.
Yeah.
Other people had to make their decision. I
Yeah.
understand that everybody just, they're not cut out for that battle.
Because
and that's okay.
God will send you the right people at the right time.
At the right time.
And for us, He sent us the right people at the right
Mhm.
time. One of my wonderful friends up in Raleigh, North
Yeah.
Carolina. Of course, the wonderful people that God placed in our ministry
Mhm.
to help us out, along with some
Yeah.
of your faithful
Some of my
friends
friends.
in Fayetteville, and it's just been phenomenal. But to see you bounce back and to see you recover and to keep going hard for God every day.
Mhm.
And that's what people need to understand. It is a process,
Yeah.
and it will always be a process,
Mhm.
because the enemy would love nothing more than to pull you
Yeah.
back into that world.
Mhm.
But if you keep doing everything that you know to do, I believe that you're going to be fine.
Absolutely.
And you're already fine.
Thank
You're
you.
already doing wonderful, and we're happy about it.
She said I was fine. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on my show. And I just want to say thank all of you for tuning in. You have been with me, Pastor Linda Grady, and the name of this show is Candid Conversations. We just had a very candid conversation here. I want you to tune in next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, and we're just going to keep bringing you great topics that's going to be life-changing for you. We love all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that button, subscribe to my channel, and so that we can meet every week. Every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. See ya.